Hey, my name's James Nicholson and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I want to talk about the huge amount of landlords that expect to raise rents in the next 12 months. A shocking amount of them want to increase rents by more than 10%. We're going to break down why this is happening, what you can do to protect yourself against this, and is this down to government policy or landlords being greedy? If you're new around here and you haven't done already, do make sure you subscribe to the channel over there and hit that bell notification. We're on the way to 43,000 subscribers. You can see around this video how close we are, a smidge away from that. By subscribing, you'll get all the latest videos on house prices, interest rates, rental crisis, and how to invest in property and much, much more. And let's get some views on this video by smashing like, tickling like, doing something to the like button. That helps with the YouTube algorithm, and I really appreciate everybody that does that. So, what's going on? Well, the government have got a lot of policies that are expected to massively increase costs for landlords. Now, I'm not expecting you to have your little violin out if you're a tenant or even agree with this stuff. But listen to what I'm going to talk about here, because this is important for everybody to understand, and some of this is unnecessary. Now, I'm all for protecting tenants. There are some shocking landlords in this country who just don't look after the property. They let people live in mouldy properties, they don't fix the properties, and that isn't fair. But that's only a small minority of landlords, and most will run their properties efficiently. You can already get fined thousands of pounds if you don't look after your tenant. But the government want to introduce something called the Renters' Rights Bill. And a lot of that is very, very good. It has the ability for tenants to potentially have a pet, or at least have it considered if they've got a pet. I always let people have pets in my properties because I think it makes them stay longer and makes it a home for them, more importantly. I've got a pet myself. I'll be disappointed if I couldn't rent a property and have my dog with me. But there's also stuff in there that people are worried about. Landlords worry that they won't get their properties back if the tenant smashes the property up, doesn't pay rent and such like. And so the removal of something called Section 21 does worry a lot of landlords. But I believe that that will be replaced with something that will allow landlords to get their property back. The problem is the government doesn't have the ability to deal with the hit they're going to get on the court system. I've made a video the other day where we looked at property disputes in the UK. The amount of open disputes is 700,000. That's a huge number, and no court is going to catch up with that. And once the Renters' Rights Bill comes through, more than half of tenants are saying they are going to challenge any rent increases. Now, if the tenant challenges that, but the landlord's bringing it up to market rent, that's unlikely that they would be successful. And with the Renters' Rights Bill, what is likely to happen is prior to the bill being active, landlords will increase their rents. We know this is likely because this is exactly what happened in Scotland. They put rent caps in, they made it so you couldn't evict tenants for a period of time, and in a short period of time, Scottish rents surged by 25%. Not only that, landlords quit, and then if you wanted a property, you could have as many as 200 people viewing one property. Now, in England and Wales, the crisis is building up to be like that. We have got the same amount of rental properties as we had in 2016, but our population has grown by 3.6 million people. That's a problem. And that means a lot of people are waiting on social housing lists for decades. If you're in London, there are some boroughs of London where the waiting lists are over 35 years. So this is a problem. And so the Land Bay, who is a mortgage lender for buy-to-let lenders, they surveyed thousands of landlords and they found that 44% plan an increase in rent prior to the bill being active. Now, the biggest place where you're going to most likely see this is in the southeast. So more landlords in the southeast are saying that they are likely to increase their rents. But here's an alarming stat that should worry a lot of people. And that's the fact that 1/3 of landlords are saying that they will increase above 10% in 1 year. Above 10%. And that is because they're worried that they might not get future rent increases after this bill goes active. So that's something that you've got to keep an eye on. 10% increase is massive. And a lot of people have had a 10% increase during the pandemic. In fact, we've had a year, I think it was 24, where rents went up 10% in 1 year. So for some people to get that again is going to be really, really hard for them to afford the property. Also, if they leave the property, they're going to struggle because the whole market is expected to increase significantly because of all the extra legislation that you're putting on the landlords here. Now, as I said in this video, I'm not anti giving tenants a good quality product. Have a look at my content on the channel if you're a tenant. Every property that I've got rented out at the moment had a full back to brick refurb when the tenant moved in. New carpets, plastering, kitchens, bathrooms. So the property are at a very good standard, but not every landlord does that. I totally get that. But making every landlord have increasing costs and a fear of not getting their property back, whether it's right or wrong, is going to mean more landlords quit. So if you shrink the rental market even more, rents are going to go up significantly. Now, out of these 44%, most are saying that they will increase by 6%, which equates on average across the UK to £74 per month. £74 increase per month. That's not insignificant, and that is going to hit people really hard. Now, once the Renters' Right Bill comes into law, and that is expected at some point this year, you've then got to consider that landlords at that point can only put rent up one time a year, and it's going to go up to the market rent. So if everybody increases their rent by 6% or 10%, because they could right now, that means you're going to see massive increases in rents for everybody. And that's not good. You've also got to consider going forward after this. Labour, in a video that I made yesterday morning, which you should go and check out on the EPC stuff, Labour are saying that landlords need to spend £15,000 per property in order to get them to level C. What they've also said, which the tenants won't be greatly pleased about, is that landlords can pass those costs on to tenants. So forcing the landlord to get it to an EPC potentially saves £240 in energy costs for a year. But the average rent rise expected per property could be around £4,000. Now, all of these things aren't great. I don't think they're particularly great for the landlord either, because if you keep pushing the rent up, eventually you'll get to a point where no tenants can afford to pay you rent. That's not great for you, because you're not going to get paid, you're not going to be able to pay your mortgage, potentially you'll get your house repossessed as well. I think that these policies are all coming too thick and too fast. You've got the Renters' Rights Bill looking to force landlords, they're going to put rents up because of that. You've got the EPC legislation that's going to put stuff up. But we've also got the government talking about adding VAT on rent. That's 20% increase. That gets passed on to tenants as well. You've also got the government saying they're going to increase potentially tax on landlords by 6%. All of this stuff will get passed on to tenants. 10% might seem like small change of an increase at some point in the not too distant future. So look, this isn't great. I think that it's something that you should be aware of. If you're a landlord, is it going to impact you? Well, yes, your rents will significantly increase, and that should hopefully offset your costs. As a tenant, maybe some of these policies aren't great for you either. Maybe having a good landlord is very important to everybody, but also being forced to pay these additional costs won't be a win for anyone. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. Make sure you smash like and subscribe. Make sure you check out all the other content as well on the channel, including this video right here.